So this is a bit of a longer video to show the mechanics of using AI Designer to speed up your strategy and planning. This could be for any objective. It could be for like a typical large enterprise or government project. It could be an IT project. Doesn't have to be. It can be any project. And it could be anything from baking a cake to human settlement on Mars, to running a coffee shop. It really doesn't matter what the objective. It seems to come up with useful content to speed up strategy and planning in all cases. We are going to just do a coffee shop example just because we are going to show the mechanics. So what we do, if we have some objective, is we click AI Designer, and this assumes we did go in and set up our subscription. Links how to do this in the description below, but we do AI Designer, we do a new design, just create a name of the for the project, whatever it is what you'd like to use as a name. The important field is this one, the objective. This is where this does get fed into OpenAI. So this is like what's the end game you're trying to achieve? So it's basically run the best coffee shop in Sydney. Context is the context in which you're trying to achieve the objective. We've kind of said it there. Because this is a sort of simple example, what I'm going to point to is perhaps the help text for this. So here we have, if we were doing an airline example, might be commercial aviation in Europe, and the more elaborate description is here. So maybe have a look at those to take guidance on how to fill them in. So once we've done our objective, we click create. Now the next thing we do is we can manually create some views. So the views might be what are the drivers and goals? What does good look like? Doing a risk assessment, capability model, but we're just going to use the auto architecture feature. So what this does, it just takes your objective and runs with it. And so we just have to click the generate button. So step one will take the context you put in, coffee shop in Sydney, and sort of expand on that, do some research. Step two will generate a bunch of questions aligned to typical enterprise architecture development methodologies. So that's kind of a structured way of thinking around things like stakeholders, goals, drivers, business processes, applications, projects, things like that. So that's 25 questions will get generated, sort of mapped to those types of topics. Step three got skipped because that would have analyzed existing views, but we don't have any. And step four is generating, well, whereas step three generated 25 questions aligned to typical architecture development methodologies. Step four generates a bunch of blue sky questions. And the combination of these two sets of 25 questions at the moment seems to be pretty powerful. You get overall the 50 questions typically contain some pretty good questions to that arguably you should have an answer to for the given objective you're trying to achieve. And then step five just looks at all those questions and just tries to pick out the best top three to start with. And here they are. So it's decided that maybe a capability model is a good idea. So this is basically a breakdown of what the coffee shop does. It decided to suggest you create a primary goals view of the coffee shop. Another way of putting this is, what does good look like? If you did have the best coffee shop, how would you characterize it? And then this one, main business processes. Creating this view will help you ensure smooth and efficient operations by mapping out essential business processes. Is somewhat a little bit related to capabilities, but this is like, what does the coffee shop do kind of from a process viewpoint? So if we want to, these came from these questions. So you can see these three with the shaded header. They are the three that it picked out of all these questions. So the questions with the coloured circle are the questions tied to architecture development methodologies. So we have S for strategy, M for motivation layer, which is things like stakeholders, goals, drivers, constraints, requirements. B is business layer. So that's the technology agnostic view of what the business does. T is technology infrastructure. That's like servers and firewalls and routers and networks and things. A is applications. That might be your point of sale system, or for a coffee shop, inventory management system. P is physical layer, so physical world, and then I is implementation, which is things like what are the project plan steps to set up the coffee shop. So all the X ones are the blue sky thinking. These are questions that are good questions, but they don't really map to architecture development methodologies terribly well. But the combination of having both is pretty powerful. So we'll go back and do one. Let's do a capability model. This is what your coffee shop does. So click generate the prompts. This is the prompt, and I'll be able to change this. So this is identify and describe the key capabilities required to run a coffee shop. Let's do create a view. I'm going to click. Instead of just auto determining the count, I'm going to click this to have a peek at maybe what the optimum number of elements are, because you don't want too many or too few elements. There is a Goldilocks number of elements for each question you might want to ask. So let's run with, we're going to have 15 capabilities, and we'll click go. This won't take a sec. All right, now click save. So here's our capability model. This is what the coffee shop does, and you can edit this. We can double click on it and edit the description. I can add elements. I can drag and drop. What I'm going to do next though is create a title. And this is meant to be an accelerator. So if you didn't like it, you could always regenerate it, or you could sit with your team and modify it. But the idea is, by using AIM, you get to sort of your required answer much faster. So, all right, it's come back and created a title, essential capabilities for leading coffee shop success. And then the subtitle is kind of something that a consulting company might come up with. It's kind of maybe something you put on a PowerPoint slide, perhaps. So what's it said? Identifying key capabilities is crucial to excel in service quality and operation efficiency. All right, so now I've saved that. If I go back to the dashboard, I can see I have one view now. And if I go back to suggested views, I can see I've got a tick. That means that, yes, I've generated that. So let's move on to the next one, suggested the primary goals. Let's create the prompts for this. All right, so it's saying identify and list primary goals for the coffee shop in Sydney. Consider aspects such as customer satisfaction, revenue targets, blah, blah, blah. Create view and have a peek again, perhaps the optimum level. Click it a few times. All right, let's go 10. This is kind of a what does good look like summary. I guess what you do is sit around with your colleagues and you modify things, click on elements, you delete them if that wasn't one of your goals, add some more. But hopefully this accelerates you getting a view that you can jointly agree on your goals. That looked pretty good. So now if we go back, I have two views and I'm going to go to the third one. What are my main business processes? Again, click create prompts. So there's the prompt, it's written. Click create view, and of course I can modify that. All right, so at a process level, this is everything that the coffee shop would do from a top-down point of view. And maybe you didn't think about having to do some of these things, and so you've discovered some scope that you might have otherwise missed. So you can go into your attempting to achieve your objective kind of eyes wide open. All right, so we've generated our we've got three views now. Let's go back into our question. So we can see the ones with the dark background are the ones we have views for, and they have this little view icon. So I can click on that, and it'll take me to the view. But let's go back and kind of just pick something that's maybe we didn't think of that looks interesting. Okay, let's try this one. What are the customer demographics for the coffee shop? So by clicking this plus button, which is create suggested view, it will take the question and it'll generate our fourth suggested view for us. The suggested views is almost like a view spec. And it always, whenever you click the plus button, it always puts it first. So it's always, if you click suggested views, it's always first here on the tab. So here's what it's come up with. So in answer to the question, what are the customer demographics for the coffee shop? It's a two-layer view with stakeholders at the top level. Which is okay. And then it's decided to put assessments as the next level. So this is going to help characterize the stakeholder. So let's kind of see what happens here. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out so you can sort of see what's happening here. You can see the stakeholder element and the little flashing bar that shows progress of where it's up to. It's sort of moving along, and for each parent, it's generating, for each parent stakeholder element, it's generating some child assessment um, elements that kind of build out further information for you to consider. So it's got 4 to go. We'll just let that finish. I'll zoom back in. All right, so I'll click save, and so with the blue sky questions, these tend to not, they always tend to be interesting and useful. They tend not to map to exactly how architecture frameworks are used, but that's fine. So what it's done in this case is, if we look at young professionals, it's created some assessment criteria that you could use to perhaps work out if your coffee shop was going to suit young professionals. So for students, it's looked at affordability, Wi-Fi, can they study in it, and sort of social ability to accommodate sort of social interactions, I guess. I guess it's what's important to each group. So yeah, it does need a bit of interpretation sometimes, and often the X questions, the blue sky questions, are sort of surprising and inventive in the value you will get from them. So now we have, so I've just saved that. Now you'll notice we do have 4 views. The last thing I'm going to show you is, well, actually, second last thing is, I'm going to do sort and analyze. So this will pretend it's a consultant creating a exec level presentation, and it'll sort the views into a logical order based on how well they, the logic perhaps used to support telling a story around achieving your objective, and it'll generate insights and actions. So I don't think the order, no, the order changed because I think we did capability first. So you can see, and that makes sense, to start out with the goals. You can see here we've got, the insights and actions. So in terms of this goals view, insights are that it sets clear, measurable goals aligned with the business vision, and focuses on customer satisfaction, revenue targets. So this is the sort of TLDR takeaway for if you looked at this view. What would you come away with? And actions are things you should go off and do. So the sum of all the actions across all your views is kind of like a summary version of the work you need to do to get the best coffee shop in Sydney. So there's room for improvement on this, but this is the intent of why these are here. And if we look at this one, the reason why this latest set of enhancements were made to the AI design, if we look at this view, zoom out a bit, and I click display as image at the top to kind of format it as a graphic. It's a little bit insane. There's kind of a lot of content there, and we worked through university students before, and it all seemed to make sense and be valuable. But it's like I guess can potentially be daunting if you get 15 or 20 views and they're all this complex. It's like a little bit daunting to analyze. So the idea is that you can just spend part of your time with the discussion with your team, just on the dashboard, and you can look at this sort of TLDR insights, and you can look at suggestions on activities that you need to go off and do, and that fits into part of your planning activities. The last thing you can do is check progress. So this is how close am I to the finish line. So given the views you have and what your objective is, it kind of gives you a bit of a score. So it's giving you a progress update. So how well do your current views support your objective? And then what should you do next? What view should you create next would be helpful. So that's it for now. Feel free to send feedback to support@architectureinmotion.com.au on any experiences you have with this or any updates you'd like. And then we'll just leave it here for now. Thanks very much.